welcome to Mink Life Motivation Live. My name is Monica Henderson, and I am your host for this party. And this week on Mink Life Motivation Live, we are making moves to win the career game. So excited for the topic today. To help me craft this conversation, I have my usuals, my besties. We have Andrea Gewertz, who is our co-host. She is the wellness thrive strategist for well-being and worth. She is also a Mink Life Motivation Master Trainer and the Dean of Mink Life University. And we have Peggy McCartha, who is the owner and photographer of Headshots by Peggy. She is a headshot strategist and the Mink Life Motivation trainer for the brand builder. And last but not least, we have you as our co-host on the couch. So feel free to chime in, drop your comments in the chat, hashtag replay if you're watching this on a replay, or if you're watching it live, let us know you're watching live. We want to hear from you as we go along in our conversation today. And so excited to dive in, as I have not talked to my girls in a while. It has been a hectic week, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're all like, yep, sure has.
Oh, yes. So it's always good to get in, the same space with you guys, and to get almost feel like this is like a reset for my week, right? It's like, okay, once we have this little moment together with us and our friends online, then I can kind of chuck through the rest of my week feeling like I've kind of aligned things perfectly. Today's conversation is so pivotal. But I really do want to dive in so that we can kind of get these topics going. So with that, let's get motivated, shall we? So today's topic is obviously, making moves to win the career game. And the question is, why is choosing a career that suits you an act of self-care? And I know this week we're probably all reflecting a little bit on, on this, as we've had a heck of a week. So why is choosing a career that suits you an act of self-care? I'm going to start with Peggy, because I know Peggy was excited about today's topic today. So we're going to let Peggy go first.
It was funny because I think we all go through our little, roller coasters of highs and lows. And so this topic was perfect for me because I was just having a pity party just within the last few days. So I was like, yes, let's talk about this. And this is just such a no-brainer to me. I've always been fortunate enough to do what I love. I've had, a couple of times where I had an odd job here, an odd job, part-time job here, while I was building my career. But when I look at people that are miserable, they get up every day and they complain about their job and they hate who they work with and they're just miserable. And then they come home in a bad mood and then they fight with their significant others or they're grouchy with their kids. For what? It doesn't make sense to me at all. Why allow yourself? It's fear because you use that. I need that paycheck, but is that paycheck worth ruining your whole life for years? So to me, I know that I'm super, even though I go through my little pity parties, my career's not where it should be, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, or whatever. I, bottom line, always know that putting my sanity and my peace of mind first is the best thing I can do for my career, for my family, and for myself.
Absolutely.
True.
Wholeheartedly agree with all of that.
Okay, next question. I don't have anything to say.
Did you have another thing to add to?
I love the way Peggy put it. Because perspective-wise, ladies and gentlemen, everyone on the couch, everyone here, our career is, yes, admittedly a big part of who we are and what we do. And if it is in alignment with us, we are, calming down our nervous system, working in our best self, living out loud the way, excuse me, we really, our heart is pushing us to do that. And that self-care on that super ultra, I hope it's not too woo-woo level, but really it's where, that marriage of passion, if this is something you love, like Peggy loves taking pictures, she's been doing it for forever, um, allows her, affords her time. Like, yeah, we all had a really crazy busy week, all with great things. And if anyone can't tell, we're a little tired. However, I like Peggy, when you get super tired, I'm going to talk about this sleep on my channel later today. We can get so out of our minds with what I call the inner critic, the ICC, the inner, there's like the little committee inside telling you all the things that are bad, as opposed to the conscious side that's trying to tell you about all the things that are good. But when you do have a moment to breathe, pause, and you look at the totality of your life, I know I had to do the same thing, Peggy, so I'm with you. I was like, yeah, this life I've chosen has afforded me the ability to be there for my kids, be there for myself, take a walk when I need to, because I don't have someone out of alignment with me telling me what to do or how to be or what to say or whatever. And so I totally agree with what she said. And I just want to add that I'm going to speak for women because I work with them the most, um, sometimes fail to understand the power in that. There is such innate power in those boundaries and knowing where they are and leaning into the gratitude of having healthy boundaries. So, yeah, having a career that supports those healthy boundaries, your sleep, and all those good things is tantamount to self care and just living as your best self and having what my favorite thing, agency. So, I thought I had nothing to say.
Yep, you thought you had nothing to say, and yet, and still, there was
That
plenty.
was something.
But one of the things that I really want to, all of it, just take a moment to think about. No matter what you do, there are going to be hard parts of your job, right? Like, it doesn't matter what job you choose, right? Every job has hard parts to it. But what's even harder is when that same job is also something you don't want to do, right? And when hard parts come, then it's like, geez, why is this worth it? So, in kind of telling a little backstory behind that. So, right before every set of conferences, I get so like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work. Why am I doing this? Oh, and then I have to do that, and I still have to do this, and we have to go here, and I have to do that, and talk to these people, and make sure that this is in order. And oh my gosh, I'm so much stuff. And then when I actually get an opportunity to have a conference unfold, and I see all of the benefits that people are having from being in that space and the connections that come from it, and all of that, it gives me just such pride and such joy. And then I remember, yep, that was why I was doing all that hard work. That was why I was sitting there struggling, getting this PowerPoint together and working for this and having this conversation with so and so and doing all of the networking. That moment when the person got exactly the message that they wanted to get, it brings me so much joy that it's worth all of the work, kind of like labor, right? Like all of that work you have to do when you're birthing a child, and you're like, oh my gosh, is this pain worth it? And then you see the little face and the joy that little face brings to you, and you have that same kind of feeling of like all of that hard work, all of those bad times were worth it. But imagine if you had to go through all of that and it was for something that didn't bring you joy. It just really kind of takes away from who you are. It makes you question who you are. It really makes you lean into the parts of you that are just not excited to show up. And so choosing a career that actually brings you joy allows you to spend the most part of your day really kind of working with people and with things and with places that you love, so that you can actually enjoy that 8 hours or 9 hours or 12 hours or 18 hours, however many hours you end up working, but actually enjoying that time. And it really kind of fulfills you when you actually get to express that completely. So, what is the one thing that is so important is we want to help people stay inspired, right? Inspiration is really about kind of keeping moving forward and making sure that you have all the things that support you, all the people that support you, all the stories that support you in order to kind of keep through those hard times that we were talking about, right? And so we want to really ask you guys, I want to ask you guys, how did you actually make the move in your career game in order for you to win in life? So, how did you actually make that move? Audrey, did you want to go first?
I'll go first. And it's an interesting question to me because yesterday I was interviewed for, I'm going to be on some show with this great lady who's doing all these great her stories. And I was like, I don't know if I have any stories. Can you believe I said that, Monica? And in her pulling stories out of me, I realized it was funny. I was like, isn't this funny that it's taken me until today to realize that my career moves have been totally in alignment with me solving problems in my life.
Mm,
I have pivoted each time to resolve either a health issue with kids or a health issue with myself or a financial issue with myself, needing to have flexibility and needing adult input. So I, I realize, and this is something I think when I founded Wellbeing and Worth, I really wanted women and men to lean into is the life you design is the life you really need the most, right? It's not the one. I was very much scripted to believe go to school, go to the good school, excuse me, get good grades and have a great job that made six figures. And then I did all that. And then I was like, but I'm not really happy, And so answering the question of what was that happiness really led me to come to California, to know all of you guys. Like, if I hadn't said, all right, I'll figure it out, whatever will be when I make these moves, meaning the big move was the big pivot was to come here, I think I wouldn't know any of you. That
mm.
shocks me. That, like, to me is like, what? Like, I can't even fathom not being in this seat, even though it's in a weird place, my bedroom, right? Like, and doing these things and like talking to people online and connecting with people all over, I'm like, wow, I'm living like this imaginary thing I thought about when I was wee big about how I would be an international jet setter. Sort of like Monica. When she said that, I was like, oh yeah, as a kid, I thought that too. Like I knew I was, and I did jet set a little bit when I worked for NPR and I ran around the world doing all these things. So I thought I had arrived until I hadn't, until I didn't have the whole of me. Like I didn't have, you know, time. I didn't sleep. I didn't do a lot of things. And so for sure, following the call, we say that a lot in me and Clive, right? What's the call? What's calling you to do what you do? Or are you ignoring the call? Because I think for so long, I ignored the call. I ignored my curiosities about all the things that I'm currently got my hands into, right? Like now I have my hand in many cookie jars doing many different things that I was only curious about in my previous incantation of a career. So for sure, I think just answering that call and living in my what curiosity, did I say it? Yes, I did. It's first time, second time today. I have to say that I definitely am going to strongly encourage people to answer the call. And even if it goes from it's a little hobby that feeds your soul that turns into your vocation, goes from avocation to vocation, more power to you. So I think, what's the one piece of advice? I just heeded the call, answered some questions, problem solved for me, and made it up as I went along, and it's working out. I guess that's like a crazy truth.
Yeah.
This
You
is
know,
like a truth call today. Oh my gosh.
truth call, right? That's what happens when it's just the three of us and we don't have a guest. Then we all get like really, really internal about it. So, for our co-host on the couch, if you have answered a call to your career and you made a move in your career, we would love for you to share it. So please share it in the chat and let us know what call that you make to win the move, the career game. Exactly. So, Peggy, did you want to share a little bit about how you kind of made that move?
So my story's, I think, the polar opposite of what Andrea was saying. I was raised in a small town in the Midwest, um, by parents who thought that females shouldn't, like, going to college was a waste of time and money. Like, you don't need college. You're not going to do anything with your life. Like, zero expectations of needing any of that. So when I started my career, I interned with a photographer. I worked my way up, and all of a sudden had a very successful portrait studio. And I was the main breadwinner in my household for many, many years. And then I moved to California and moved to Southern California about 19 years ago and started all over again from scratch. And I worked a lot of hours and I loved what I did. But the problem, or the thing was, someone pointed out to me, he said, you don't have a business. You just do your hobby a lot. Like, this isn't a business, it's a hobby. And it was very offensive to me that he said that. But when I really looked at how I was running my career, my business, I wasn't running it like a business. I was running it like a hobby. And I happened to make good money, but I wasn't where I should have been. I was putting way too many hours in, not making near enough money, and not being smart with it. So that kind of slap in the face, as much as it stung, kind of was the turning point for me to realize, okay, I need some education. I need to get people in my life that are good at business. I need to figure out, how do I run my books in a more efficient way? How do I run my business in a more efficient way? How do I market? How do I do all of the business side? I was I was great with my talent and my, you know, my craft, but the business side was totally neglected for years, until I realized, hey, I am a badass businesswoman. I need to stand up and put my big girl panties on and do the work that it takes to run a business, and not just keep um, focusing only on my craft and not focusing on my career. And that was a turning point for me. It was a painful little slap in the face that made me realize that if I wanted to be the badass that I really was, I needed to step into that. And so that was the turning point.
Yeah, I I love that you guys have like different stories, but ultimately what it came down to was a turning point, like a moment, right? Where you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to get enough courage to do this thing. And so I love those shares. I personally, when Andrea was talking about creating solutions, um, I think ultimately everything that I've created in Mink Life Motivation really was that solution, but more from a standpoint of, I figured it out. Now let me figure out how I can help someone else not have to struggle like I do. And I say all the time, the legacy that I got from my grandmother was my life, my pain is not in vain if it can help someone else's, and that has been kind of a marching, the drum that I had always marched to. And so even as early, as recently as creating the incubator for all of the people in our Mink Life universe, having a daily co-working wasn't really about like, oh, I just know what people need in order to make their lives better. But it was like, what do I need to make my life a little less chaotic? What do I need in order to, what is the system I need to put in place in order for me to be able to complete the task that I need to complete? And what is the system in place that I need to work on? And it came from a moment of pain where I was like, why is my bank account not where I think it should be? And in leaning into that pain, of like, okay, this is a problem that I need to solve, then systematically going through my life and my business and reorganizing and looking at it, I realized that, wait a minute, if I help others do this as well, there's some value in that as well. And so for me, even in creating Mink Life Motivation, and then in all of the pivots from the conferences to actually adding the co-working space and to working the online platform, all of those came out of problem solving. It came out of solving the problem of, how do I help my licensees, the people who I've trained in the system, and they have action plans, but they seem like they're getting lost in actually using them. To how do I organize myself so that I can support them and support my own development in my business. It came down to, wait a minute, there's community here, and I need people on a daily basis, because Andre and I were each other's community for the first year of all of this, but that can't possibly be sustainable for each of us as we get bigger. So like, maybe we need to add more people into that community. And so every single time I needed to make a move in my career, it was based on a low, if you will. It was based on a shift. And that shift really came at a time where I could no longer keep working the way that I was working. I needed to do something different. And so, like Andrea was saying, that real true advice is really to go into all of this with understanding that things are not going to stay the same all the time, and that things will change. But that change can actually walk you right into a greater purpose, a greater expression, a greater uh, being of who you are, so that you can actually make the impact in the world that you're trying to make. And it is completely a self-care act, because in listening to those shifts and listening to your intuition that things need to change, you're allowing yourself that freedom and that space to be able to grow into where you need to go, and to add in the people that you need to add in, and to really kind of make that difference in the world. So I hope that all of that is inspiring to you. And again, if you are watching this and you have created something, or you've made a shift in your life that is now creating a bigger impact in the world, we definitely want to hear about it. So feel free to drop that in the chat, please, because it is so imperative for us to be sharing these stories. A lot of the times we feel like we're alone in our businesses, or we feel like we're the only ones going through it. And you just heard it. The three of us were like, "Boo, child, this week was a doozy," right? And you're not alone in that. We all kind of have those weeks, even in working in our passions, even in working absolutely in a great space. There are those times, and having a tribe like mine, I have an awesome tribe that I'm happy to lend you. It really kind of helps, and as we share with each other, we actually learn from each other's experiences as well. So we want to keep this party moving and keep it going on. So I really do want to help us keep networking. Yes. And here at Mink Life Motivation, networking is not about passing those cards and saying, this is what I do, buy my stuff, but it's about, like Andrea says, staying curious and asking questions. And so the curiosity this week is really all about, who should you surround yourself with in choosing a fulfilled career? And I think we kind of alluded to, sometimes people give us bad advice on what is a good career based on their own experiences. So who should we actually be surrounding ourselves with when we're considering kind of really leaning into a fulfilling career, as opposed to that career that fills our bank accounts? Andre, did you want to go first?
I thought Peggy would go first, because she kind of,
Ooh,
and
yes.
Well,
really, she to continue her thought from before. I think she's going to answer it.
this is something that I say often, and that is, surround yourself with excellence. Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, that are better than you, that are everything that you wish you were. Surround yourself with those people. I learned long, long ago, I don't need to be the star in the room. I'm happy being like down here, because if I'm the smartest person in the room, then I'm going to be content right there. And I'm just going to stay there thinking that I'm like somebody that's pretty damn awesome. But if I surround myself with people that are better than me, I guarantee that I'm going to be up there on their level like that, because, that's human nature. Like, we don't want to be at the bottom. But if we keep putting ourselves at the bottom, that gives us room to grow. And so when you surround yourself with people that, I didn't knew nothing about business. I didn't go to a cool business school or any business school. So I had to surround myself with people that did go to those number one schools in the country, and I had to surround myself with people that were top in what they did, so that they could bring my little hobby up to the level that it needed to be, which was a true on full on real business. And that, as soon as I did that, I realized that I had nothing to be ashamed of, because that was something that stumbled me for the longest time. Is I was embarrassed. I didn't want people to know that here I've had a business for 20 years and I've never done this or I've never done that. And so I was ashamed and embarrassed.
Mhm.
And once I started, just said, okay, I need to do this. Not one person ever made me feel dumb or said, what's wrong with you? Not one person. Everybody was like, oh, I see. Well, I see the system that you're using, and let's take that and turn it, let's take all the receipts in the shoebox and let's put it into, I don't know, QuickBooks or something. Let's do that, Peggy. What do you think?
We're all guilty of the shoebox moment.
And really taught me how easy doing business could be, as long as somebody was there to show me that plan. So surround yourself with excellence and don't be embarrassed. You're not supposed to be good at everything.
No,
That would be weird.
that
If
would
you
be
were
weird.
good at every single thing, that would just be weird.
Yeah. That would be weird. So, Irina, our co-host off the couch, said, "Definitely, Peggy. This is why I am so glad that you ladies let me play in your sandbox for sure." And what's funny is, so Irina is also shared her move that she made, and she's like, "Yes, she has 23,500 people apparently waiting for Diabetes 101 for Beginners group." Right. So she is spinning that she had a problem. And I don't know if you, she's been on the show several times where, she lost her husband to diabetes, and she took that pain and turned it into a mission, and really kind of pivoted her career from just being a support system to someone else's business to really kind of turning it into her own. And now she's able to affect change in lives all over the world through her Facebook group. And she's working on a health fair that's going to happen very soon. I know I'm dropping stuff before it's supposed to be, but really kind of being able to lean into that passion. And like she said, being able to be, like Peggy was saying, being surrounded by people like us. I don't know that she would have had the courage actually, I know for a fact she would not have had the courage to start that Facebook group, because her and I fought for like 4 months for her to start that group. And now she has over 23,000 people in that group. So it just goes to show you how important it is for you to be around people who are going to be smarter than you, who are going to see things past what you are, and going to encourage you to do that. Andrea, did you want to share
One.
uh, who should we be? You want to add to the who should we be surrounding ourselves with conversation?
Yeah, I'm gonna add. Peggy was right on the money. I knew she was gonna say that. Like, of course, you want to be with people who know more than you, because that's the only way you're gonna learn and get ideas and get motivated and latch on to, oh, that worked, maybe I should try that too. Right, like, I love R&D, is rob and duplicate
Yes.
legal. My like, what's my R&D? I'm doing a little R&D, and that means I'm looking around for the best of the best to sort of roll that into what I want to be as output. And the other thing is, I'm going to put who you should exclude
Yes.
in this boundary setting, is those people that fail to encourage you.
Mm.
And those people that will not hold up and support your pursuit that's obviously a passion of yours. So, any passion killers, any naysayers that are just on the verge of being kind of malignant, you need to ditch them. I mean, they just need to be on the shelf and you only access them when you have bandwidth to deal with them. Because when you
Yeah.
are birthing a baby, you are birthing a career, you're birthing a brand, you are providing value to your clients. You have to bring and protect that energy that makes you jump out of your skin to transfer belief into them, and having people that will nick away at that vital energy um, short circuits your own success, your happiness, and of course you don't serve your clients as well. So protect your energy, my friends, and surround those people who will love you up, be the warm encouragers, and politely look across the room at those who would otherwise want to, like the crabs, drag you down into the
Yes.
well.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, there's nothing worse than a person who wants you to play small. The person
Mhm.
who's like, "Ooh, that's a bit big for your britches. Are you sure you're down for that?" Oh, I don't know how many times in my experience of
Oh,
like,
and it
I
happens to
know
us
I'm
all the
little.
time,
I know I'm the little guy, kind of
right?
having to have this Goliath fight with the world. I don't need someone to remind me of that part.
To get
That
us
part
there.
I look in the mirror on a daily basis and see. So like I don't need any help with that. So I love that you're saying
Mhm.
protect your dream that way. And one of the things that we teach at Mink Life Motivation is the 6 basic rights of personal growth, and that ties directly into the right of you have the right to nurture your own life plan. Right? That is your right. And when we talk about nurturing, we talk about protecting, caring for, and growing. And that protection is super vital to making sure that you actually are actually nurturing this baby, this career, this concept, this idea of what you want for yourself,
Mhm.
from people who honestly either don't believe in it or don't believe in you enough to be able to do it. So it's really important for you to do that. So I love that, Andrea. I was going to say, the people that you really need to surround yourself with are people who um, are also in the trenches, right, and who understand the struggle. The best part about being in the incubator with all of the other coaches and teachers and experts is, and also the conferences. I feel like the conference is the same way. Is when people kind of can just be a part of a think tank. And can be a part of an experience of like, well, here's some concepts that you might want to consider. Them being able to bring their different perspectives to the same problem, and it's at a peer level, really is helpful. And a lot of the times when you are in your business, you can't go to the people who are on your team to actually
It's true.
fortify you in that way. You
Yeah.
need people on a peer level, and they say it's lonely at the top, and that can be true. But there are things like our incubator, for instance, is one of those ways. But also you can do masterminds.
Masterminds.
There's a lot of different groups that are like peer
Mhm.
groups that you should really kind of tap into. That it is about that like give and take of ideas, and that conceptualizing of ideas. And I always think it's kind of like watching all the great world thinkers sit at the restaurant with the bottle of wine on the table, and they're just sitting around postulating different concepts and stuff. We have to create that for ourselves, because that rub and that friction and someone telling you that your idea sucks, lovingly, right, it also helps you become a better person. It helps you actually get better with what you're doing, and makes you justify your bull. There is something to be said by people making you justify your bull, like what you are saying. Yeah, yeah, prove it. Because it really does kind of like shine that diamond so well, because they make you think about all the different parts. And so it really is kind of important to tap into a community that's going to support your growth. And we are always arms open, willing. I'm always in her frame, but we are always willing, arms open to invite you into our community. But if our community is not a good fit for you, find another community that is,
Right.
because that community is super important. And
Can
it
I
is that,
add
yes,
one little thing to that?
yes,
Because I think uh, it is in our female nurturing energy sometimes to tolerate,
mm,
uh, tolerate past the point of comfort
yeah,
and tolerate past the point of usefulness.
yes,
Um, I think Monica's, your invitation, like, yeah, come in the incubator. If it's not for you, it's not for you. We don't mind but you need some like reflection, like that map and mirror thing I love so much. You
yes,
need a reflector and you need a guide, and they're going to show up in so many different places. And you, as the owner of your life and your business, have to know, oh, yes, I'm going to walk down this lane with idea here, and then I'm going to turn right because my idea is taking me this way, whereas the journey person that I was with is still going straight. And you know
yeah,
what, it's okay,
yeah,
because ladies, again, I'm talking to my well-being and worth folk, is listen up. There's a season and a time for everything. And that doesn't mean it was bad that you changed. It just means you pivoted and you changed and you had to go. I mean, I had a dear friend who was in a mastermind group and it went south. And I said, well, your time is done here. And she was like, right, my time is done here. I said, they didn't behave the way you wanted them to behave, and they didn't like the way you were behaving. And guess what? It was time for the transition and the pivot to happen.
yeah,
And you keep marching on to your beat. You got something out of it. And, I hope you left value and you keep moving towards your light. So, yeah,
yeah.
we have to guard that so well, and to know that this is part of the journey. It's like watching your
That's
kids.
I'm really glad you brought that point up, because sometimes we feel like when it's time to pivot that we failed, and it doesn't mean that we failed. It just means that we got what we needed there, or we gave what we were supposed to give there, and now it's time to pivot. So I'm
Absolutely.
really glad you brought that up.
Oh yeah. No, it I feel like this whole conversation today has really just been about like embracing change. Right? Just really
That was
embracing
several conferences ago.
change.
We're off topic. No.
Yeah, embracing that change and embracing that like everything has a season, and when it's time to go, it's time to go. And what lessons have you learned from that? I really do feel like that is kind of what has happened throughout this. So we don't want to keep y'all here all day, although
We
we
could.
could totally do that. We're going to keep this party going, and so we are going to spend some time really quick gaining a little bit of knowledge, and to do that we're going to have one tip from each of us on how you can actually um, calibrate your life by how you can, one tip that's essential to calibrating your career. There we go. Found it. It was there somewhere. Took me a while, but I grabbed it, and there it is. So we'll start with Andrea this time because she's passed it off to Peggy twice now. Don't think I didn't notice that.
No, I
Andrea.
was first once, I think.
Yes.
So, it's been funny as we've been talking here. We keep going career/life because you're busy talking to a bunch of entrepreneurs, and that line is blurry. Like, I was like, you say career, you meant life. Do you mean career? Do you mean life? And so if you're following along, you're like, I thought they said career, but they keep saying life. And I would say that the entrepreneurs, for them, it's the same thing. So you did hear that confusion. And I think the one essential tip that's going to come out of my mouth about that is clarity on your path and the affirmation that you do daily, weekly, whatever, for your path and your journey.
Okay. Love that. Peggy?
I think my tip is in alignment with what Andrea said. And I'm just going to say, be intentional. Live everything you do with an intention. Why did you get up this morning? Why did you go to the incubator? Why did you see, what are you doing? What is your intention for everything that you do?
Yes. And what I would say is, so when we talk about in Mink Life Motivation, we talk about career is your talent, your passion, and your training, right? And so I want you to think, just take a moment in piggybacking on what their tips were. Think about, what are my talents? What are my passions? And what are the trainings I have? And am I using all three with what I am doing for my line of work? And if you can calibrate those three things, where every that your career is literally aligning to your talents, your passions, and your training, then you absolutely are calibrating your career and calibrating your life, which is exactly the conversation that this whole topic is coming out of, our life calibrator for the Mink Life Motivation Principles Program. Let's see what we got from the co-host on the couch. I thought I saw something else in there.
I did
Uh,
too.
I don't see it now though. Ah, there it is. Oh, there's lots of comments. I've been missing them. Sorry. Andrea, yes, boundaries. Look at this. Behind a box. Great. And that was from a Facebook user. I'm not sure exactly who that was. But when you are doing what you love, when you can't do, when you cannot do
When you
it,
can't, don't do it.
don't do it.
Yeah, it's
Becoming
becoming.
your life. Yes. So really, just if you can't do it, don't. Love it. Thank you for the co-host off the couch for being a part of this conversation. And so right now, it is my favorite time of the show. It is time for announcements, announcements, announcements. Yay! So we'll start with Andrea this time. What are your announcements?
My announcements, Mar, I am girding up my community to healthily approach the holidays. So if you are like, oh, the holidays are a time when you just resign yourself to not feeling good, I encourage you to come into my weight loss and wellness, a 360 approach to thrive group, and understand that, yep, you can choose a different path, and we are here to help you do that. So come on over, join our group, and I would love to love on you about the road to wellness is one that can be fun and one that helps you thrive.
Yes, love that. Peggy, what's your announcement?
I am so excited about how many people are doing the Headshot Strategist program from all over, even if you're not locally. It's really fun for me to empower you and teach you how to get the most effective headshot possible, no matter who your photographer is, understanding how to use your headshot as your marketing, because after all, your headshot is oftentimes your very first impression. So find me at headshotsbypeggy.com or my link app, which is linkapp.com/Peggy, because I'm just that cool.
Just like Cher. All right. So, and of course, we have our announcements for Mink Life Motivation. And that is that we not only have a community with the incubator, but we also have your courses, and we also have conferences. But today, I really want to focus on our very last conference of this season. Because what's next? It is time to level up. Now, we have leveled up twice already, and it was, if you weren't there, oh my gosh, you need to go and just grab a pass to something and get the playbacks, because so many amazing conversations happened over the last week. We have one more conference left, and that is the Conference for London. Passes are on sale, and you can go to nextglobalvirtualconference.com to be able to get those passes. I am so excited to have this last one be in a new market. Don't forget, you can also join us in the community, so you can clear your to-do list by using time-focused work segments. You can be free to do what you love by creating more time in your day. You can have all the support you need by working with a trainer, coworkers, or independently, and you can make sure that no task gets left behind by increasing your life and business management skills. That is happening right now in the community and daily. That is the end of our show, and I have so many thanks, but mostly to my co-hosts who I love so truly. You guys have really kind of been in this game with me for a while, and this has been fantastic. So thank you, Andrea and Peggy. We are here every single solitary week, and reminding you to have the power to activate the vision within. And with that, we are going to say goodbye and see you next week. And don't forget, sharing is caring. So hit that share button and share it with your friends so that they too can activate their power and make moves to win the career game. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.